But as investors, as buyers, is that true for them too, that this is the time to be buying?
If they want to go sell their house, I'm not telling them I'm going to buy it at something that's going to be like unfair. Everybody has to win.
Where does authenticity show up?
It's all the relationships you make and who you trust and who you think of and how they think of you.
Today on Beyond the Frame, we're going to be talking to Justin Bresson about real estate. We're going to be talking about residential and commercial and transitioning between the two. And I think the big takeaway that you might learn today is not just about the real estate aspects, although if you're a budding investor, this will be huge, but also what it feels like to transition between different aspects of the same industry or same brand and what it takes to sort of accomplish that. Justin, thank you for joining.
Yes, thanks for having me.
First, why should people listen to you? How long have you been doing real estate? And tell me a little bit about Fresh Places.
So I've been selling real estate since 2008. When I first started, there was maybe, I think it took about 3 years for me to run into another real estate agent while I was out showing houses.
Wow.
Just because there's nothing to do. Anybody I told that I'm getting into real estate, they basically said, "What are you thinking?"
For those who don't remember,
2008, right? Yeah, sorry.
Remind us what was going on in 2008.
It was right after the whole real estate bubble, mortgage bubble. So nobody was buying or selling houses. Nothing was trading. The whole market was upside down. And so, but for me, I was a little kid getting on the roller coaster. I had no idea. So like when people tell me like the market's terrible, this or that, my response is always, this is the best I've ever seen it. Just because I was too stupid to know any better, maybe.
Well, is it an optimistic, is it like that your perspective on things? Is it an optimism thing, or is it a lack of knowledge and naivete at the time? Like, what do you think really led to that?
It's probably a cocktail. I think I am eternally optimistic to a fault, just as a human being, which makes things a lot of fun because everything looks great.
Yeah.
But it was something I was interested in getting in. I liked the structure of it and the opportunities that are there. So it seemed like, I think it's also a great time to get into it. And it's kind of now too, right? Like the market's not great right now. And honestly, this is the right time to get into real estate because there are less agents and you have to work harder, right? So you're learning your muscles, you're learning your basics, you're learning what you actually have to do versus just opening a door and selling a house.
And you're thinking about this for, you're kind of delivering that from the perspective of budding realtors, right? The people, the Justins of today from 2008 that are trying to enter the market. But as investors, as buyers, is that true for them too, that this is the time to be buying because of the market forces, right? Buy low, sell high. What are your sort of perspectives on what you're seeing right now?
So the right time to buy and sell, and this is like a generic answer, is like when you need to buy and sell.
Right.
Right. So from an investor standpoint, you have your numbers. Everybody, calculates risks and looks at investments differently. And those numbers work in any market. It's just a matter of like how many you have to look at to find a right opportunity.
I think that's a fair point. I mean, I think you look at like forces recently, right, where everybody left New York during COVID and they were prices were inflated in a lot of areas, right? You can go back and go, oh, I wish, or I would have done differently. But at the time, that was the right price to get you out of the situation you were in, right? And so I think that makes a lot of sense. And there's a lot of emotion, obviously, in those purchases. So you're 2008, you're surviving and thriving, or at least optimistically hopeful. I don't even know how to describe it. And what happens?
I was also in my mid-20s with like no significant other, no really zero or negative amount of responsibilities.
Sure.
So like I could sell a house and go to the beach for the summer, right? It wasn't really that much on the line.
So funnel cakes on a date for Justin. That was the
if you're lucky, maybe a second date. But then it just I stuck with it and I grew up, matured. I learned how I operate, right? Like I come from like a place of authenticity. The first couple like emails or meetings or things I had, I'm like dressed in a suit and I'm writing formal emails that look like they're like a memo written by, some corporate business professional. Like it's so far from me, unfortunately. Like
sure.
I did just buy a suit recently. Why did I buy it?
It looks great.
Oh, no, I don't know. I had a wedding in August. So I bought a suit. The past couple of weddings I got to rent a tux, but
right.
I probably hadn't bought a suit in like 10 years.
It's funny you say that because we have a lot of, interns, college grads that are trying to reach out for work, and it is really interesting. You can just tell from the level of formality in those, and now with AI, it's like a different level of formality, right?
Yeah.
But it's interesting that there's a sort of confidence in your voice that comes through with confidence, right? And it's doesn't need to be too formal. It's also not, "Yo, dude, can I get a job?" Right? There's that place in between, and so it's interesting that you were sort of formulating that at the time.
And it's also, like, exhausting if you're
Right.
not writing it as yourself, right? Like, the same thing with, like, lying, right? Like, if you lie to people, you have to, like, remember what that lie was. And that, like, that's maybe I know I'm not I mean, maybe that's why I'm not good at that because, like, I'm not gonna remember what I told somebody unless it's just what I know.
Unless it's what's
Yeah,
true
so,
and what
like,
you know, right.
yeah.
It's a funny point for authenticity, and we did a podcast, recently, with, Chelsea from Pack and Plan, shout out, and the whole thing was about authenticity, and as a travel and planner, and then for me as a video production,
Yeah.
as a creative director, where does authenticity show up? So it's interesting that you're kinda going down that line, and so you're capturing your voice, you're figuring out those things, creating authenticity around that. I mean, real quick, just a pit stop there. I don't know that you thought about this. What is like 1 to 3 tips you'd give somebody who's that, budding realtor about how to capture their voice and capture authenticity that's actually gonna resonate? Because to that point, you might be super authentic, just came off, a snowboarding bender or, and
Yeah.
and be like, gnarly homes are on the market and you're not gonna necessarily resonate, right? So there's a version of authenticity that's you, but also resonates. How do you capture that voice from your perspective?
It's really about I mean, I can only speak for myself, and I think maybe it applies to other people, hopefully, or benefits at least one, right? But it's where your comfort zone is, you know. So like, you definitely have to push yourself out of your comfort zone in anything. You get that,
Yeah,
you run
sure.
a business, right? But it's your approach to those things, you know. So like, one thing for me that I work with in agents on my team with like how they're selling or where they're finding the business is like, what is your passion? What are you into, right? Like, do you have a dog? Do you go to the dog park? If you go to the dog park every day, that's a great opportunity to create relationships. You know, we're
Mm,
all in relationship sales, right? It's all
true.
about the relationships you make and who you trust and who you think of and how they think of you. So like, if you're at the dog park, that's your lead gen. Like, I had a dog, R.I.P. Drake. He was like my
Oh,
boy,
buddy.
but he was like a pit mix that loved to bite dogs and maybe I don't know anything, right? And he couldn't take him to the dog park. And I had a buddy at like an old brokerage I was at. He's making like a couple million a year just off of walking his dog. I'm like, this. I love Drake, but like he's killing me in that sense, right? Like,
Right. Not super
yeah,
helpful, Drake. No.
yeah, yeah.
Um, oh, rest in peace, buddy. But don't bite other dogs where you are, and it's not helpful.
Now he can. He's up in doggy
Yeah, I guess they stop up there. So, so I think that's super helpful. I think, and it's a helpful way to understand in terms of. So, actually, give us a little bit of context there. So, you've got a team under you, and what is that? How big is the team, and what's the philosophy around bringing in realtors to join that
right.
team and support them and support the growth?
So there's 5 agents and 2 support staff. We have Keith, who is based out of the Philippines, and Abipsa, who works in the office with me. She runs everything day to day. She's phenomenal. And then we have 5 agents based in the suburbs and the city. And really, we are there for them day to day on transactional support, operations, and marketing. You know, we do a couple events a year and really work individually with the agents as far as like what is their approach to grow their business. You know, like it's not it's fresh places and not the Justin Bresson team because it's a brand that you can hold on to and utilize how you need to use it for your team, right? Like
Mm,
if you're at a listing appointment and you need senior support, I'm there. If you're fresh places and that's just it, then that's you and fresh places, right? Like it's anything and it's adaptable to, like it's important to me that my agents are like growing their business and their database, that they have something tangible of their own. Like our newsletters each have their own face on it. None of it has like my face on it, stuff like that. So it's like building your own identity.
I love that. Does that create? I mean, tough questions. Does that create problems for you where realtors come in, they create their own brand, and then kind of are parsing off, or do you feel like it builds that loyalty? Is it a
Yeah,
combination of both? What do you see?
theoretically, yes. Right? It's like if I'm teaching them how to fish more than giving them a fish,
Right.
why do they need me? Right. So like I think the not the team, but it's really the focus you want to, if as an agent, you want to be able to focus on the relationships and the opportunities. So what we provide is the ability to really hone in on that. That's the one thing they should be doing. So like I always say that when a property goes under a contract, they can forget like what the settlement date is and the sale price because like we're taking care of it all.
Hmm.
We organize great events that consistently have reoccurring people come to annually that you can leverage with your team in your database, right?
Right.
And I've had agents that have left because they've grown and then they come back.
Wow.
So, I think that's a good testament to what we offer and how we support our team members.
I think it says a lot too about not bridge burning, right? I think that that's something that I've always been proud of in my career in building this business was, I think looking back and a lot of the staff that have come through here, I still keep in touch with,
Yeah.
still communicate with. I love to hear where they are now. And it's, and even almost to a fault, I like to talk to, what, if there's someone asking for an internship or a job, like I like to have that conversation because I feel like first, when you're first starting out, there's not a lot of people that are picking up the phone because, what's in it for me, right? And so I always want to provide that guidance and help. And then on top of that, from the bridge burning perspective, like especially in our industry, things are so small and things are going to come back around, and your reputation is everything, right?
Right.
So, but I think it says a lot about you that, especially in that space where it is easier to kind of go out on your own, that people go see the. So let me ask you this, actually, from a resource perspective in real terms. What are the things that you find that people, when they come back, they're like, okay, I realized the value I was getting. And what is that? Is it on the marketing side more? Is it on the administrative support? Where do you find is that biggest value?
Um, I mean, being a real estate agent's lonely, right?
Mhm.
You're a 1099 employee at a brokerage of maybe 100 to 700 other agents, right? And that brokerage offers a lot for you in sense of like a buffet, but it's crowded. You really have to go up and get it. Whereas if you're on a team, you have your clique, maybe you
Right.
call it, right? So I think people come back because they want the support and the structure. Like no one wants to be the weakest link, whether they like realize it or not. And when you're the only link, it's hard to really
See that.
see that, right? So it's community, it's peers to soundboard off of that are there for you because you guys all have like this team element. How does that recruit? If if someone was like a tennis player growing up, I don't know, but like if you play team sports, you kind of get it.
It's funny. I see that. Like, even if whether you're, struggling to grow or you're doing pretty well right now as a solo realtor, but that loneliness, you can kind of feel it. It's tangible, right? And I imagine that, especially going to a place where you're not gonna, there's probably a hesitation too. If I'm going to a place and it's like, I'm putting my face under the Justin Bresson face, right? Whereas, hey, this is Fresh Places. It's a brand that you can kind of build your own brand under, right?
Yeah.
And with, I shouldn't even say under. I think that that's a pretty cool intro for folks that are feeling maybe that loneliness,
Yeah.
right? Let's transition a little bit into this space. So, flashing forward, residential real estate. If you want to give me a little bit of context so that people understand, and maybe if there are realtors listening to this, like the breadth of work you've done or the growth, what are those, I don't know, KPIs or metrics that you can kind of use
Yeah.
to indicate that? And then how do we get into commercial? So give me a little bit of that.
Right. So, I mean, depending on the year, we're number one in our brokerage in our size group, right? So like this past year, we were just in 2025, we're number one in units and volume at KW Mainline for whatever obscure size our group is, like
Right.
more than 2 agents, but less than 8 agents. And if you divide the agent experience, I don't, like, but we got number one. I got a thing that says number one on it. So,
All right. Nice. Yep.
Um,
Gold star.
yeah.
Gold star.
And that's modest. I do think we have a great team, and
Yeah.
I'm critical of like where I want us to be. So, but it feels good to be recognized.
Of course.
Yeah. Commercial real estate, we don't do any commercial real estate, Fresh Places.
Okay.
Really. But like, Franklin Penn, which is like the company my wife runs that I started with her, and that's like our investment properties and things we do, like that has brought us into commercial. Like she and her whole background is commercial real estate.
Okay.
So like the interesting thing is for me right now, as we just bought a office building on the main line over the summer last year in Ardmore.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Yeah. It's like our biggest purchase yet. It's really exciting. The one example is there's rentable versus usable square footage, and Liza's heard me talk to her about this all the time because she knows these things. Or like
Right.
my buddy who works at Cushman Wakefield, and I'm like, rentable versus usable. And I'll explain it to you now because I know you're very curious. Right. So rentable versus usable square footage. I'm trying to see what the example here would be. But if you have, 10,000 square feet of office space and there are 8,000 square feet of offices,
Mhm.
you have 2,000 square feet of like common area. Your usable square footage would be your 8,000 square feet, but your rentable square footage is the 10,000.
Oh, interesting. I would have thought it was reversed. That usable
Usable is the lesser.
usable is
Because
like
but they
okay.
charge you on the rentable.
Got it.
And then like there's a thing that they say called like load factor, which is like the multipliers. Like in our building, it's like 1.3.
Okay.
And
Is that a good is that
it's high. Actually, I think we have a lot of usable. We have a lot of common area in ours.
okay.
But Liza and I, she's like, that's called like because I don't know. So like I'm playing with spreadsheets and I'm like figuring out like, oh, this is the multiple of this, right? And she's like, that's called load factor. I'm like, no one says that. And like this is literally like sitting at our kitchen table, we're like fighting over load factor. I'm like, okay, congratulations. The word's load factor. Like I'll pay you $100 the first time I ever use that word.
Right.
And like true story, the next day I'm having lunch with somebody. He owns an office building or two, and I said load factor. And I was like, damn it. Like, it wasn't even a day.
Liza, wherever you are, you need to come collect. You need to come collect immediately.
I will Venmo you, Liza, $100 wherever I'm supposed to there in the fourth wall.
So I know we don't do that, right? We don't Venmo or are you a spouse? Are we spouse Venmoers or not? I've had a whole conversation about this with somebody recently.
We Venmo, but it's like if it's work related things.
Okay, that makes
like,
right.
like
you got to keep things.
I have a really blurry line between partnership.
Okay,
yeah, we like we're talking about real estate from 9 a.m. till like 2 o'clock in the morning.
Okay,
like,
that makes sense. I'm thinking of the like I bought ice cream.
Oh no,
Venmo. Okay, I was just we're just making sure. Okay, I think like that would have blown up the comments if there was a.
It's like, Liza, you owe me $10 for that ice cream cone I bought our son.
No offense to anybody who does that, but except complete offense to anybody who does that. So okay, so load factor comes up. You pay a lot. You pay Liza $100.
Yeah.
Well, let me ask you this: what are the what's the takeaway here? Right? Is it because I know there's from an authenticity perspective. There's like learning as you go, right? And your willingness to do that, and that being a key factor of growth, right? That you can't grow. Growth by definition is I don't know that right now, or I'm not doing that right now, and now I'm learning it and growing into it. So I think that's a cool aspect of it. Are there do you look at that from the perspective of go, look, okay, fine, these are the key terms for these things, but that's how I dress to impress in my suit that I haven't bought since 2008, right? Whereas from an authenticity perspective, I just want to know what the core meaning of these things are so I can translate them for my audience. What kind of comes up for you from that?
So so what you're saying is like, you're like, I understand it. Like I might not know like the buzzword.
Right. The terminology or the key, right.
But I understand. I can't like that's to a fault sometimes, right? Like there's this, if we're looking at something and you put the numbers in front of me, I need to take it apart and put it back together.
Right.
With them, do the numbers myself, and they'll come out and say the exact same thing, but like then I understand it.
Right.
Which like I don't think I was really like, like there's like kids are like, they took apart, the car engine at 4 years old and put it all back together.
Sure.
Like that was never.
That was not you.
Yeah.
I find that there's an overinflation on the value of that. Like people talk about that all the time. Like I don't know, like you were so into blah, blah, blah. I'm not a doctor today. And I like you played Operation for hours. It was just a good game. I feel like there's an overinflation on what like you do as a toddler and who you become when you grow up.
Yeah.
To that point though.
There'd be so many more paleontologists in the world if that was true.
Oh my God. There would be all paleontologists and police officers.
Yeah.
Like if like firefighters and paleontologists, that would be the whole, there'd be like no other jobs. And like Indiana Jones would have been big when I was a kid. Like just people who can get their hat from under the garage door. That would have been a real key job for me at that time. So I guess translating that, sort of not to go, what's the point, right? But like for our audience watching, right? If you think about those, and give me the terms again. It's your usage,
usable versus rentable.
Give me the.
So like another thing that was a big breakthrough for me in selling houses to people. It was like me buying a house, right?
Okay.
So you talk about like authentic self. I bought my first investment property in 2011, and or maybe it was 10, I don't know, whatever, in ages ago. But that was a breakthrough for me as a sales agent because no longer am I can now practice what I preach.
Sure.
So telling people to buy a house or why they should buy a house or how to buy a house or what they're going to go through when they buy a house
You've
mm,
experienced it now.
becomes a lot more tangible and authentic for me. And the same thing goes now for me. Like I do a lot more with listings, and listings are tricky because like it's counterintuitive. If you want to sell it for the highest number, you probably should list it for the least number you're comfortable with, right? But I've done that personally, and I've sweated through it multiple times, and I can look someone in the eyes and be like, "This might sound crazy to you, but I will tell you how I've done it for clients, and I'll tell you how I've done it for myself." So, like, I'm not telling you to do this, and then I'm gonna be like, do something different. This is how
Yeah.
I would sell my house.
I think that's the big thing, right? We hear that all the time from an authenticity perspective, from a trust perspective. Man, we do video content for Subaru of America. We're interviewing technicians, and the most powerful thing they can say is, "I'm fixing your car the way I would do it for my own mom or dad or my family." Like, I want it to that level of safety, right? When we talk to financial advisors, right? If we're doing, have them on a podcast, it's like, this is what I would advise to do for me or my family, right? That you want that. It's funny, and maybe you could speak to this. So there was a interview I saw. I cannot remember which comedian it was, but he was, in an interview talking about just his career journey. And one of the things he said was, when I talk to comics that are coming up and I ask them how long you've been doing this, and they say like 5 years, 6 years, I don't even want to talk to you until you've been doing it for 10 years, because a there's a level of expertise that just happens from reps and doing that amount of time. And he's like, that threshold for me is 10 years.
Yeah.
Right. And so for you, hearing that, like, you have to have the experience. You have to have gone through it, of buying the property, selling a property,
Yeah.
going through that before you can really truly relate. Otherwise, you're just regurgitating something you heard, right?
It's a 10,000 hour rule.
Right.
Malcolm Gladwell
Yep.
outliers. Yeah.
Um, and
Not my favorite Malcolm Gladwell book though.
no,
Tipping Point is
I think Tipping Point. Everybody, Tipping Point's
the one.
it's the goat. It's the goat of Gladwell. Like, I feel like it's also. I find it's really funny because generally the takeaway from like Tipping Point is like that one key element that you need to know. But then why do I have to read all the pages? Like, I feel like just tell me the tipping point part and I'm good. Um, Shout out Gladwell. So I think let's kind of wrap this up around or bring this back to, I should say, the commercial endeavors. And I guess my question to you would be, Fresh Places doesn't do that, right?
I mean,
So
today.
today, I like that.
Right.
I like it. Yet, right? We
Right.
talked
Yeah.
about that.
And the thing is we do work with a lot of investors, right?
Right.
So we have developers that we see through from, buying the lot to building the triplex, all the permitting process and getting them from start to finish and helping them with those sales, right?
Right.
Or they do it themselves and they come in there and we help them sell, or we have investors that we help buy, multifamily units and things like that. So we do investment sales. A lot, and we have reoccurring people that we work with there, but we're not predominantly focused on like commercial leasing or like commercial brokerage
Okay.
in that sense. So like if you had space you want to put like Chipotle in, I'm probably not your guy, but I know who the guy is. Like today,
Right.
I'm not your guy. But that transition from residential to commercial, which is what I think you were just about to ask,
Yeah, exactly.
is like it's interesting. It's really, I've enjoyed the last, I guess, 6-7 months right now a lot, because I like to learn things, and I also like things that are shiny and distract me from other things. I like to build, I like to create. So going into this commercial building has been a lot of fun for me, experiencing it and seeing the differences between the two. Like, they both have their pros and cons, right? Like, in some ways, and everybody in commercial real estate would disagree with me, I think it's more straightforward and it's not easier, but it's simpler in the sense that, like, it's a math equation. Like, you run a business, you can afford X in this location, do these things, do the economics work out to make this economically feasible. Whereas, and I find that not as it's easier when there's logic, like A equals B, B equals C, right? So, but in residential, it's really fun because these are people's biggest purchases of their life, and you have like intimate relationships with them through it, right? But you can take them into a kitchen and it's painted red, and they're like, I want to go to the next house. And we're like, no, we could paint it. We can paint this the color you want. But like, no, like this is not the house. But so there's trade-offs there, right?
Right. We're dealing with more of an emotional situation in the one, and then you're dealing with I mean, it's investments, right? It has to add up, right?
Yeah.
Does one inform the other? Like, meaning, are you kind of wearing like, from a brand perspective, you're taking your hat off and it's a different thing. But from a advice and guidance perspective for clients, are there a lot of things from what you know in residential real estate that inform some of the things you're doing in commercial and vice versa? In the things that you've learned, are you taking new skills in the from commercial over to residential? Or are they really kind of these distinct avenues from your perspective?
They're distinct avenues in that like 10,000 hour rule, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like the all the time I've spent as a like specifically isolating a residential agent doesn't necessarily give me much power or impact in commercial, right? Like if I was just going to flip a switch and become a commercial agent tomorrow, I need to reset, a lot of relationships,
Yeah.
right? And fortunately, I have commercial relationships, sure, right? Like it's not like I haven't. This isn't a new endeavor in that sense, right? It's something that's like kind of the 10,000 hours have started, but you don't see them, right?
Sure.
But the investor element, looking at properties as an owner operator, as an owner investor, that is very commercial and it's very valuable, I think, from the residential side, right? Like anything I'm looking at with people as their agent on the residential side, I'm always thinking about like, like you're buying this house, like, the market in the suburbs is nuts right now. So like I always talk about like the year's 2026, but your price is 2028. Like you're going to live here till 2038. So you're going to be fine. Right.
Got it. That makes a ton of sense. And that's more, is that both? Is that on commercial and residential?
That's the residential translation to it kind of.
Okay.
Like as an investor or like, because people always want to know, like, am I going to get like, is this a good investment? Whether even,
sure. Even if it's their long-term home, you don't want to go out and be upside down in 30 years, right? Yeah.
Which, I mean, that'd be like really, really, like that would be, but anyway. So
that's catastrophic issues if we're
it's like
30 years later. Yeah.
That means you like refi every single year. I think you're just chasing that 30-year amortization.
There's a lender out there who's frothing at the mouth hearing you say that right now.
that is off the record, not my, anyway. But
it's not a recommendation.
So from the commercial side, what does residential help on the commercial side? Patience. And again, it's all relationships. There's not like there's a lot of things that are different. There's a lot of things the same, right? And in commercial, it's more relationships with brokers. I think sometimes I could be putting my foot in my mouth because I am not by experience a commercial agent, broker, right? So, like if you wanted to sell a $40 million shopping center anchored by Whole Foods, don't call me. But actually do call me because I will tell you who to use and
who to talk to. Right.
Because I have the relationships and that's really what it is. So like it might, and I also will be honest and be like, I'm not going to put my name on that because that is not the right person, but I know exactly who the right person
who to talk to.
Yeah.
If if we're going to boil this down and, I think you could pick this is choose your own adventure now, as we're coming sort of the end here. And I think this was a great conversation just about sort of authenticity, your sort of growth in the industry, growth in general, right? How do you sort of get excited about new opportunities, but be authentic and honest about where you are in that process, right? Like maybe you're a black belt in real estate for residential, but that translates to like a green belt in commercial, and there's a growth strategy there, and being honest about that, right?
Can I say that I think that I'm a black belt in commercial, but I just don't know how to like swing the nunchucks, right? Like I don't, or I'm calling them sticks on string, right? Like
got it.
Like
you don't know the term, right? Okay, I think that's fair. So you're
like
I think that's
like the roll of town. I'm LeBron. I just haven't learned to dribble yet.
Okay, I don't know how you now we're gonna get philosophical, wax philosophical. How do you? So you're LeBron, but you can't dribble. Maybe it's more like Bo Jackson, like you're like you can like switch the sports, but you just haven't.
What would it be like if
what's
like,
the analogy?
If like I wonder, like let's say everyone always talks about like LeBron becoming like a tight end, right?
Right. Okay.
So that is he's a physical athlete, right? He's healthy. He knows how to he played football in high school, I guess, right?
Yeah.
What would be his transition into that? Or, I mean, Jordan Mailata is a perfect example.
Yeah, coming
Right?
from rugby to
Yeah.
they're very right, and they're very close sports, but they're
Yeah.
different. You got to
Yeah.
learn. I think that's a great. That's it.
Yeah.
It's the Jordan Mailata example.
Yeah.
You are.
I'm
You know
more
how to
his shape.
tackle. You look just like him, by the
Yeah,
way.
thank you. I get that a lot.
Seems like
They're like a mix between him and Brad Pitt.
everyone's walking down the street just going, "Is that Jordan Mailata? I'm going to buy a house from him." So you've got you're in rugby. You know how to tackle. But in rugby you're doing laterals and going into scrums, and in football it's all forward motion blocking, right? And so it's the same athleticism, different technique, right? And bring that. Okay, I like that. The Jordan Mailata. We just rebranded Fresh Flip. Did this just happen?
Yes.
Right. Sorry, Liza. This is going to be a big surprise for you when Justin gets home.
But it is interesting because I got into real estate and residential real estate because I wanted to buy investment properties, right? And like growing, and part of that is growing the team. Growing the team helps me, like widen my reach and help more people and help agents grow their business because I like that. It makes me feel good. Right?
Sure.
And now as what we buy is bigger and we're getting more into commercial, it's like, well, what is that, peripheral or like, what's the word I'm looking for? Like secondary,
Yeah, like
ancillary in,
His-
like the team, residential
Yeah.
team for residential investor, commercial what for a commercial investor,
Mm-hmm.
So it's just interesting. Where's this going? Right.
I love it. And I think before we break, I
Mhm.
want to actually ask you a difficult question, which is something we talked about offline before. And I'm going to just serve this up. And, if it doesn't go great, we'll just delete this. So as a residential realtor
Yes.
who also invests and buys residential real estate, is that an inherent conflict of interest? Is that something the client should worry about? Is it a question you get a lot?
Right.
How do you answer it? How do you make sure that the authentic Justin gives that answer of trust?
So first of all, one thing I probably should have touched on a little bit ago is that like I have the residential team, right? So I am mostly working. The team works with the people that are buying and selling.
Yeah.
So like I'm not actively, I'm still actively keeping all my relationships. But like if someone's like, "Hey, I want to buy a house," 9 times out of 10, I'm like, I have the perfect person for you to be boots on the ground with, and I'm there helping along the way when needed, right?
I think that's, by the way, a really good point to hit, because I imagine that a lot of realtors that join a team, and especially if they're under the brand name of the main, face, do you feel like you're getting scraps, right? And you're not getting like the core best customers, and you're not getting, so I think that's really telling that, your vision for this is build a team. And yeah,
I made it was probably like 3 years ago where it was challenged, like any buyer under X I'm handing out, right? And then I pushed that and I pushed it. Now it's like I genuinely try to, share and connect my relationships with the right agent on my team, regardless of like where their price point is.
that's awesome.
So
That's really cool.
it's not like I'm cherry picking. Like someone's like, I'm not cherry picking. Like, oh, this guy wants to do this. I'll keep this one.
Right,
I
right.
just distribute them all.
That's awesome.
But your question, I know who I'm talking to, right? And I know, and I wholeheartedly want to do what's best for whoever I'm helping. So, there's a lot of things that go into selling something besides just the price, right? So
Mhm.
maybe, and I'm very straightforward. Like I might not be the highest price if you sell it to me, but you can sell it to me, and you also don't have to do anything else, right? You can stay here for an extra 2 months and then just hand me the keys with like your suitcase, and I'll clean out the rest, right?
Mhm.
But if what's right for them is to get the most amount of money, and they're willing to do all the work that takes to do that, because there's a lot of stuff that goes into getting your house listed for market.
Sure.
Like you gotta get rid of the cat smell. You can't have 20 cats in your house.
Right.
But then I'll help them do that too. So it's like whatever, I will put it all out there, and I'll be like, these are your things, right? But it's really, if they want to go sell their house, I'm not telling them I'm going to buy it at something that's going to be like unfair.
Right.
Everybody has to win. I need to sleep easy at night. I'm not.
And that's on the seller and listing side. And I guess on the buyer side, your whole thing is, I have a team that I'm distributing this to anyway. So you're not running it. Yeah.
I'm not buying what I'm selling.
Right.
Or as on the buyer side, right? Like if I'm not, like the residential thing, like it's not, I don't ever really feel like there's a conflict.
I think that's a fair and authentic answer. And that's what we're looking for here. And I think we got a lot of that today. Justin, thanks for coming on. Where do people find you, find your company, find your team?
I mean, do I give you my like website?
Yeah, hit it right now. Unless it's a secret. You don't have
No, it's secret. Please, yeah. No, our website is www.freshplaces.com. My cell phone number is 610-613-7750. And then I have the Instagrams and the Facebooks, I guess.
and all the things. We'll
Yeah,
put them up.
yeah.
I like that. You dropped all the W's, by the way. I'm proud of you.
Right.
That's real 90s.
You know, it's funny. It's like, I don't even think that's actually a part of it. I think it just jumps you to the one without the W's, if I'm being honest.
Yeah, I don't think you don't need the W's. You could just type in the thing. You haven't needed the W's for years.
What?
Bro, I just saved you so much time. This was the most valuable part of the podcast.
The www part? No.
We're just going to leave it in, but just silence as you say it. And we'll just see, and people will have to mouth the W's. Thanks so much for joining Beyond the Frame, and see you next time.